Guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Maya if you're new, and today I'm going to be talking about my favorite watercolors and my watercolor collection, and I will give you my thoughts on each, and I will tell you my favorite, and I'll tell you which ones I use where. So let's get into it. Okay, so the first thing I have here on my desk is I put them in here. I bought this tin. They don't come in this tin. They are the Winsor Newton Cotman watercolors. And they come in like a white case. Let me see if I can find something similar. The cases, but see Winsor Newton? There's different sizes that they come in like these plasticky type of cases. But I bought some open stock from Blick, so I ended up putting them in here. And then I also have my Schmincke watercolors in here that I from the tube. But the rest are the Winsor Newton Cotman watercolors. And as you can see here, here's my swatch. They are real watercolors. These are true watercolors. And what I mean by that is that they are translucent. Now, these are my favorite, and you mix them. You can mix them to get a lot of different colors. So these are my favorite for basing and then going with pencil on top. My favorite pencil to go on top of it is the polychromos pencils. And I have some Pablos. But yeah, hard pencil like the polychromos. And these lay down a nice gritty, a little bit of a gritty texture on the paper so that the polychromos pencils have more tooth to grip onto and they lay down more color. So I love to use these in to base with watercolor in double-sided books and use pencil on top. So I'm going to show you an example. This is an example of a page that, let me get in a little bit closer. This is an example of a page that I based with these watercolors, and then I did pencil on top, and it was a dream. Like, the pencils lay down much more pigment because the watercolors leave like a rough texture on the paper. Also, this is wonderful paper for watercolor. Not all coloring book paper is going to be good for watercolor, and what that means is when you put the watercolor down, if the water soaks in right away to the paper, you can't move the pigment on top. That's not good paper. If you are not able to move the watercolors and have time to move them, that's not a good paper for you. So switch to a different book. That's my advice on that. And that's what I mean by good paper, bad paper for watercolors. Now, the Japanese coloring books are fantastic because I guess there's a barrier. The water doesn't soak in right away, and you can really move the watercolors and have time to do what you need to do. So, and that includes, ink tints, watercolor pencils, any of the water media. When the paper doesn't soak in the water right away, that is a good paper that you want to use. So anyway, so I do love these watercolors. I'll show you another page that I did with the same technique. So this is all based with the Winsor Newton Cotman watercolors, and then I did pencil on top. So, and I do have other pages, I just don't remember where. So this is what I remember the most. So that's what I'm showing you. Okay, so that is these. I love them, and I would wait for Prime Day and get them on sale, because they can go on sale. Don't get them from Michaels or Blick because it's very expensive. Wait for an Amazon sale, and they're fantastic. So that's Winsor Newton Cotman. Okay, the next watercolors are the Rosa Gallery watercolors. Ignore this. I don't know why I put this sticker here. But anyway, the Rosa Gallery watercolors, I took out the extra flap. And basically, these are from the Ukraine. Now, I heard about these. I saw these on Coloring with Alina. And I trust her judgment a lot. She's an amazing colorist. And she's an artist, and so there are some people where you just trust their opinion, and everything that I agree with her on a lot of stuff, so I really like her opinion. So she uses these, and she's from the Ukraine, and I thought, you know what, I'm gonna get them, and they're fantastic. Now, they are more opaque They are thirstier, more thirsty watercolors than the Winsor Newton. The consistency is different, and they're more opaque than the Winsor Newton. So you can water them down and base with these, absolutely. And you can also use them as in their thicker form, almost like a gouache, a little bit. Not entirely, but like in between. So these are great. I love them, and I've used them in many, many pages for backgrounds and different things. So now they had two options. They had a landscape colors and then a botanical colors, and it was very hard for me to decide because I love landscapes and I'm a landscape colors kind of person. But at the time, I thought, you know what, because I'm using them in coloring books, maybe I'll get the botanical set, which has more bright colors. But I don't know if I would do that again. Maybe going back, I might have done the landscape. So I don't know. It's a hard choice. But those are the Rosa Gallery watercolors, and they're fantastic. Okay, I do want to touch on the most basic watercolors, which are children's watercolors. And these are what you would call chalky watercolors, and if you put too much, they will flake off the page. So they are cheap, they're inexpensive, but you could still color with them, and I have colored with them and have had really nice results. I'll show you one example or two. So these I used recently in a more recent page right here for the this is before I got my more expensive neon watercolors. I did use these cheap children's one right here. And you can see kind of, if you add too much, it will flake off, but you could still use them and they work great, you know. I mean, these ones are called Chroma Blends. These I just got at a cheap store. I don't even know, but they're pastel. They're not bad. I think I have them swatched, actually. These are the colors. Children's chalky watercolors. And this I showed in a coloring update. They have a lot of colors. It's smaller, but yeah, you can color with them great. And I've had good success with them. Let me show you. In the past, before I got my more expensive watercolors, I used these. So if you're a beginner and you don't want to spend too much money, you could definitely use that. I'll show you examples about where I use that. Let me see here. This is with the cheap children's watercolors, and look how nice that looks. This, I am not sure. No, that's, I think, Prima watercolors. Hold on. These are with the cheap children's watercolors. This is not. I think this is Rosa Gallery, you guys. Yep. This is my Rosa Gallery watercolors in here, and some gel pen. Here, this one is with the children's cheap watercolors. And I don't know if you can see how chalky it is, but you could still color with it. Look, this is an old page, and yeah. Here are some cheap watercolors from children's watercolors. Also in the tail, I recognize it a little bit. There are some here as well. Yeah, those are all the examples that I have at the moment. So yeah, these, even though they're cheap, they could still work great for coloring, and I have used them and like them. Next are my White Nights watercolors, granulating watercolors. And I'm in love with the White Nights, an amazing company. Unfortunately, it's a little harder to get these in the United States. I believe in other countries it's easier. I think it's a European brand, and so European brands are a little bit harder to get here. But anyway, I love these, and I love granulating watercolors. So I'm still learning more like how to use them in coloring books specifically, which is a little bit more difficult than if you were just doing like your own watercolor painting. But so I'm figuring out a little bit, how to use them in watercolors, and I have used them in coloring books, excuse me. I have used them and I do like them. So that is part of my collection and I love them. My next White Night palette is the pastel set, and these are more like a gouache type of, they're opaque. These are what I would call opaque watercolors. That's what Christy Rice calls them. I call them a gouache watercolor, but I think opaque watercolor is a nicer way to describe it. So thank you, Christy Rice. But these are great. I love pastel colors. I love gouache and the effect that it has on it. In a coloring book, it kind of looks like acrylic, but it's easier to use because it's water soluble. You can clean your brush and you can move things around, and but they're opaque. So you have the best of both worlds. So it's easier to use an opaque watercolor in a coloring book than it is to use acrylic paints in a coloring book. So that is that. Now these are similar to this type, the Derwent Inktense Paint Pan Studio Set. Inktense Paint Pan. It's similar, but it's not exactly. But I will talk about that in a minute. These are like a gouache watercolor, very thirsty and very the consistency is different than the Cotman. Again, they're more like the Rosa, a little bit more like the Rosa watercolors, but these are the pastel. So I would say if Rosa Gallery had a pastel set, it would be these. Okay, now we're going to talk about, these are not watercolors, but I am including them because they are water soluble. And they are the Inktense Paint Pans. So I have the Studio Set, which is a really big one. And then I also have the pastel set, the Derwent pastels. They're, paint pan. That's what they call them, the Inktense Paint Pans. So it's similar to Inktense, and they're not watercolors. So this is not good for basing. The reason is, if you base with this, it's very thick and it leaves like a very plasticky finish, so that you'll feel like you're coloring on top of plastic. So these are not for basing. This is like, how I use these is like where I want to use acrylic, where I want an opaque finish, but I don't want to use acrylic, I use these. So this looks like acrylic, but it acts like a watercolor. And that's what I love about these. So you got an opaque finish, but without the hassle of acrylic, because it's easier to work with these. They're water soluble. You can use a smaller brush, and it's just easier than acrylic. So that's the Inktense Paint Pans. That's what they're called. And again, this is the pastel set. I love these a lot. I use them a lot. Let me show you some examples. Okay, some examples about where I use them is like, for example, here I used it, the greens. I think the pastel and this I used to like, see how it looks like acrylic? Here I used it for these, the brush, the foliage in the back here, the brown and the green. So like I said, see how opaque that is? Let me show you another option, another example. This double page spread, let me see if I can move back a little. So in this double page spread, see this, the blue? This is the Inktense paint, the blue background. So, that's how I use it. Backgrounds, when I want to add extra things on top. That kind of thing. Okay, so the follow-up to the Inktense paint pans are the Inktense blocks. These are basically the same thing as those, but in a stick form. So I use them, I just go like this with a brush and use them like I use those. It's just, I got these colors because I like these colors. And these are colors that that don't come in this set. So, So that's why I got these colors, and I do want a couple more. I love these. They're amazing. They add a lot of pigment, a lot of, like I said, similar to acrylic, but easier to use. And so that's how I use these. Those are the Inktense sticks, I think they're called. The next one is the Derwent Graphitint paint pans. These are more similar to watercolors, traditional watercolors, but they are like a mix because these have graphite in them, so it's a little bit of the Inktense pigment with the graphite. So they're more translucent, but they do act differently. They don't feel as opaque as those, but I love the colors in here. Oh my gosh, beautiful colors, and I love these so much. I love my Graphitint pencils too, so... Yeah, just love, love, love the colors in here. Category are my Ganzi Tambi watercolors, and I am including these. These are also Japanese. They're the neons. So these are my more expensive, better quality neons. And these are more recently that I got. But here I have the, I also have some extras that I got single stock and whatever. But anyway, these are my Ganzi Tambi watercolors. This is a newer set that I got, the Art Nouveau, but I also got single stock ones. But these, except for this and this, these are new, are my old ones. And look how I've hit pan on. I use them in my other crafts too, in my mixed media crafts and for other projects, not just for coloring, but I've used them a lot. You could see they're shriveling up. But you can buy these open stock, by the way. But anyway, I like these a lot. Now, these are not for basing. The consistency of them is similar to the Inktense White Nights pastel, the White Night pastel ones. That kind of consistency. So they leave like a shiny finish, so you can't really like use pencil on top if you're going to use thick layer. Maybe with a thin layer you probably could, especially with a waxy pencil. But for the most part, I wouldn't use these very much for basing. I would use this for just straight coloring, like you're actually going to color directly with the actual paint. That's how how my experience was with them. I'm sure you can base if you use a thin layer, you could do it, but ideally you would not, because if it's a little bit more than thin, it will leave like a shiny finish and it's very hard to color on top of that. That has been my experience with them, but I do like them a lot. The colors are beautiful and they're fantastic. So okay, future editing Maya here. First of all, I wanted to say that these are not Ganzi Tambi, but I keep them together because they act like it. It's not from Kuretake. It's called Lumi. So it's a Japanese brand, and they are my neons. And then I added, after editing that video, or after filming it, now I'm editing, I did add recently these watercolors from Kuretake, also Ganzi Tambi, the granulating colors. And I saw these on Doodle Robot's channel. And ever since I saw it on her channel, I got so excited. I put it on my wish list. And recently it went down in price, so I ordered it. These are the swatches. They're incredible granulating watercolors. And I can see myself using this in my other crafts as well, because this is perfect for like distressed journals, which I haven't made in a long time, but I do like to make those. So that is another part of my collection. Okay, future Maya here. What I was trying to say inarticulately is that these, all three of these, so the Rosa, White Nights, and the Ganzi Tambi, are sticky. So when you put a little bit of water in your brush, if it's not enough water, your brush will kind of stick to it. They're kind of sticky and very thirsty, so you need to add a lot more water than the other watercolors that I have. I hope I'm making sense. So they're kind of like, I don't know how to, even when I touch them, they're sticky. So that is very different than my other watercolors. So all three of these have that sticky consistency. And if you have it, you know what I mean. Especially the White Nights and the Rosa. But even this one a little bit. So I hope that helps to explain what I mean. I do want to touch briefly on pearlescent, or what I like to call metallic watercolors. These are more pearlescent, and I have a collection of them because I love them and I use them a lot. And these are my least favorite ones. So I have I did try the Shimmering Lights from Prima. They are pearlescent and they're nice, but they're not my favorite, but they're very nice. These are the Derwent pearlescent / glittery. Some of these are more glittery, I don't know if you can tell. These you can barely tell that they're pearlescent, but they are. I did try the Winsor Newton Cotman. They're not great either. I still haven't even opened all of them, but I got these on sale on Prime Day. This was like so cheap. It was like $5. So, and then I have White Nights. I do have some metallic or pearlescent ones in here mixed with other colors, and they are nice. They're nice, the White Nights. However, my favorite metallic watercolors or pearlescent are the Caliro. And going along with that, the sister company, Finetech, pearlescent. So Finetech has a couple of different pearlescent ones. The ones that are more expensive are like more of like the duochrome, but they also have just regular pearlescent. The Caliro, they're all the same price if you buy them open stock. Some of them are color shift and some are just pearlescent, like metallic. These are the best quality of metallic watercolors are these two companies. Let me show you a swatch. Let me find it right here. We go. These are, I don't know if you could see because it's in a plastic, but these are the Caliro and Finetech. Very, very good quality. These are my favorite metallic watercolors. So I use these a lot, and I have an unboxing video where I go into it a little bit more if you want to check that out. But I did want to touch on these as well. And while we're on the subject of pearlescent, I am going to show you the cheaper option, which is these cheap children's pearlescent watercolors, which are actually very, very good. As you can see, I hit pan on that one, but they're actually pretty good, and this is like $5. Here's another one where I lost the cover because I used it. I don't know where it is, but anyway, see, this is a swatch of them. So they're pretty good pearlescent watercolors. So these are cheap ones. You don't have to get expensive pearlescent watercolors to get a nice pearlescent effect, because even the cheaper ones are pretty good. You know what I mean? So these are the cheaper ones. This is a Chameleons. These are like beautiful, and I got this for $5 at Five Below. So there are cheaper options out there and for every budget. Future Editing Maya here again. A recent addition to my pearlescent / metallic watercolors are these beautiful watercolors, which I got as a Happy Mail for my wonderful viewer, Tamila. Thank you so much, Tamila. I absolutely love these. So this is called Artsy. I've never heard of this brand, but she was saying that she really loved them. I recently used this. Look at that. It looks just like Arabic gold from Caliro. So I have to say that I have been starting to use them, and I can definitely see why she likes them. The quality is very nice, and they're a great dupe for the Caliro. And I'm assuming a lot less expensive. So I would say that if you want a nice set, this is a really nice set so far that I've noticed, so far from what I've seen using them. So these are part of my collection now, and I love them. I recently used this one in a color with me that you will see hopefully soon. So that is a recent addition to my collection by Artsy. And lastly, but certainly not least, my favorite water-soluble colors, or watercolors, we'll call them, are actually my Prima watercolors. And these are what I would call a gouache type of watercolor. So they are opaque watercolors for the most part. Some are more translucent. Obviously, the pastel colors are more opaque because they put white in it. So now, if you notice here, what I did was I got a bunch of, they come in random sets with a bunch of different colors. For example, I have here, I got the tropicals. I also got the classics. I just don't have the tin. So I got the tropicals, the classics. This is a must, Pastel Dreams. This I love, Vintage Pastels. Woodlands is a really nice one that I got later on. Terrain I had to get because I love greens and browns and I use them a lot. So I had, I would say, 6 sets that I consolidated into 5 pans. The classics one isn't here. I think I also got the blues, if I'm not mistaken. There's a blue set that I got. So maybe 7 sets that I consolidated into 5. I put all the browns in here just to make it easier for myself. All the greens. Here I put all the blues. Here are reds, peaches, and grays. And here are pinks. So Okay. Now, the reason that I love these is because they're so versatile. You can put pencil on top. You can water them down to make them a little bit more translucent, but you also have the option of keeping them opaque, like a gouache type thing. So yeah, I love these. Now, I did put some in here are not Prima, like these are from AliExpress, which I do not recommend because they will bleed through the paper, the AliExpress ones. It's better to get the Prima ones. So, but I do have some other ones in here, but most of these are Prima. So like I said, they're very versatile and you literally can paint with them. There's so many colors. You take a small brush and the coloring goes so much quicker with these. So I've used these a ton in coloring books, especially when I got back into coloring books. I felt like these will speed up your coloring so much. So let me show you some examples about where I use them. So the first pages that come to mind are my Lulumeo books because I remember using these a lot in the Lulumeo books. So these are older pages, but you know, most of this is the Prima watercolors, other than gel pens, but Prima watercolors. This is all pretty much Prima watercolors, and I do put pencil on top. Keep in mind these are old pages that I would probably do much better now, but I just wanted to show you, like the llamas here are with the Prima watercolors. Prima watercolors for the background and a lot of stuff here. Here as well, I have quite a bit of the Prima watercolors. Here, it's mixed media. I mean, I do use other stuff. Like the rainbow here is the Prima watercolors, I believe. Right here as well. Here. Definitely I have Prima. So yeah, these are my favorite. I love using these. Let me try and find a newer page. Here's another page where I used a lot of the Prima watercolors. This one right here. This one's a whip. Here's a more recent page. This is a whip, so it's still a work in progress, but I have used my Prima watercolors here. And I intend to use more of them as well in here. But yeah, that's a whip. So I love these so much. I have for you today in today's video. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you got something out of it. And my parting words are, you do not need to get all of the sets that I have. I'm showing you my collection and giving you my thoughts so that you can decide which one is best for your style of coloring. Before you go out and buy, you know, a bunch of different things, make sure to think about what are you interested in trying? What is your style of coloring? Are you going to enjoy it? Are you going to use it? And go by that, you know? So I hope that helps. Start from there. I hope you have a wonderful month of coloring and a wonderful week, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye, everyone.